Hello everyone, this is Isha and welcome to my channel. Today in this video you are going to learn some tips and tricks in watercoloring if you are a beginner. So without wasting much time, let's dive into the video. So tip number 1 I have for you is use the right paper. If you might have tried using those thin sheets in watercoloring of about 200 GSM, you might have noticed that the sheets become wavy and with more and more brush strokes it disintegrates. It is up to you if you want to use 100% cotton paper, which is very good. But if you are a beginner, as an alternative, I will also recommend you using 300 GSM paper with 25% cotton. Now tip number 2, go by the layers. In watercoloring, always apply different layers to get that watery effect. So first you will apply a base after wetting the paper, which is much lighter and has this watery effect. Following that comes the darker layers. Always keep in mind that if you want a defined color on that base, make sure that the base has been completely dried off. Otherwise, those color will blend. And this will be explained more in my next step, that is wetting of paper. Knowing when and where you should wet the paper before applying the color is very important. So first I will talk about when to wet the paper before applying the color. If you want to have a blend of colors or you are applying a base like I said in my last tip, then wet the paper sufficiently, not too much because it will take ages to dry off and it will also create chances of dripping to the adjacent regions. After wetting, you can go for as much colors as you want in the base for them to blend completely. After the base has been dried off, you can go for much more layers, probably darker. While applying the second layer, you don't have to wet the paper. You can define more features with the subsequent layers. Now I'll move to where you should wet the paper. Wet the paper only in regions where you want the color, otherwise the color will messily spread in the adjacent regions where you don't want the color to be. So moving on to my next tip, that is start by making something basic. You don't want to try making a portrait as your first painting and get discouraged later because you have ruined it. So as a beginner, try making something basic. Learn how to use brush and creating that watery effect. Paint a flower, those are easy. I mean, basic is different for different people. If you are having difficulty in making something, try something else. Painting basics will give you a sense of accomplishment. You will need to learn more complex things in the future. And now moving on to my last tip, that is use of 2 jars. Using a cloth for drying of the brush after rinsing is important, but additionally important is using 2 jars. While repeatedly rinsing of the brush, the water in the jar has its own color which can come on the paper with the brush if you do not rinse the brush properly. The best way is to keep an extra jar which will rinse off the colored water from the previous jar. If you have more questions regarding the subject, please write in the comment section below. If you like this video, you know what to do. Bye.